Hi! Welcome to my video. I am Bernadette S. Deplian from Grade 8 St. Vincent, and for today, I'm gonna teach you the four statements, which are the conditional statement, converse statement, inverse statement, and contrapositive statement. So first is the conditional statement. Within the field of mathematics, a conditional statement is an assertion of the format if P then Q, where P denotes the hypothesis or antecedent and Q denotes the conclusion or consequent. According to this assertion, the conclusion must likewise be true if the hypothesis is correct. The sign P to Q is commonly used to indicate it within the narrow, standing for implies or if then. Here's an example. The conditional statement, if you live in a mansion, then you are rich. The hypothesis, if you live in a mansion, and the conclusion is you're rich. This statement asserts that whenever a person lives in a mansion or a huge house, then the person is said to be rich. If the person doesn't live in a mansion, then it doesn't say anything about the wealthiness of the person. Here's another example. The conditional statement is having enough sleep is healthy. The hypothesis is having enough sleep and the conclusion is healthy. This statement indicates that if someone had at least 8 hours of sleep, it is said that it's good for your body and health. If you didn't get enough sleep, you might be unhealthy, have a headache, or even have a stress, which leads to unhealthy body and well-being. So, yung conditional statement, meron siyang hypothesis and conclusion. Yung hypothesis, yun yung rason kung bakit nagka-conclusion ka. Yung conclusion, yun yung result ng hypothesis mo. Ganon yung conditional statement. Next is converse statement. Converse statement is the opposite of conditional statement. The formula for this statement is if Q then P. In mathematics, a converse statement is formed by reversing the hypothesis and the conclusion of a conditional statement. So, ibig sabihin, yung converse statement is the total opposite of the conditional statement. So, pinagbaliktaran mo yung conditional statement mo. Yung conclusion sa conditional statement mo is yun yung mauhuna sa converse statement mo, while yung hypothesis sa conditional statement mo, yun yung mahuhuli sa converse statement mo. Kung sa conditional statement, if P then Q, sa converse naman, if Q then P. So, parang pinagbaliktaran mo lang sila. Okay, tapos ko nang i-explain sa inyo yung converse statement. Now, let's have an example. The conditional statement is, if you live in Seoul, then you live in Korea. The converse statement is, if you live in Korea, then you live in Seoul. Bakit? Kasi pinagbaliktaran natin yung hypothesis and conclusion sa conditional statement mo. So, converting the original statement to its converse doesn't guarantee its truth. Ibig sabihin, hindi lagi siyang totoo. Hindi laging totoo yung converse statement mo. In this example, just because you live in Korea doesn't mean you live in Seoul. There are other places in Korea such as Gangnam, Jeju, and more. Let's have another example. The conditional statement is, if it's sweet, then it has a sugar. The converse statement is, if it has a sugar, then it's sweet. Bakit? Kasi pinagbaliktaran natin yung hypothesis and conclusion ng conditional statement, kaya nagkaroon tayo ng converse statement. While the original statement is true, the converse statement is also true because if it's sweet, it has a sugar, and if there's a sugar, the food is sweet. This kind of statement, which has both true statement, is called biconditional statement, which uses if only if. So the food is sweet if only if it has a sugar or something sweet. So, yung biconditional statement, ito yung both statement is true. Lagi silang tama. Ginagamit to ng if only if. So, the food is sweet if only if it has a sugar or there's something sweet. Next is inverse statement. Inverse statement is like the conditional statement, but we add the word not. The formula is if not P, then not Q. If a statement is true, its inverse might not necessarily be true, but if the original statement is false, then its inverse must be true. So, yung inverse statement, parang conditional statement lang siya, pero may negativation na siya. Hindi na-deny na may word na not na, may negativation na. Let's have an example. The conditional statement is if you're rich, then you have a lot of money. The inverse statement is if you're not rich, then you don't have a lot of money. The original statement implies that if the person is rich, then the person has a lot of money or wealth. The inverse statement suggests that if the person is not rich, then the person doesn't have a lot of money or wealth. These statements are both not true because just because you don't have a lot of money doesn't mean you're poor. You might be rich by heart, kindness, nature. So, in this example, nakita nyo yung negation or negativation niya sa conditional statement. Sabi, if you're rich, then you have a lot of money. While sa inverse statement naman, if you're not rich, then you don't have a lot of money. So, nakita nyo yung negation or negativation nung inverse statement. Let's have another example. The conditional statement is if you're a singer, then your voice is good. The inverse statement naman is if you're not a singer, then your voice is not good. The original statement implies that if the person is a singer, then he or she has a good voice. The inverse statement suggests that if the person is not a singer, then he or she does not have a good voice. Last is the contrapositive statement. This is the opposite of inverse. The formula for this is if not Q, then not P. The contrapositive statement of a given statement is formed by negating both hypothesis and the conclusion of the original statement and then reversing their order. So, yung contrapositive statement is parang converse statement lang siya, kaso may negativation or negation na siya. Parang yung inverse statement lang dine-deny, may word na not na, and may negativation na. For example, the conditional statement is if you study, then you will get a high score. The contrapositive statement is if you did not get a high score, then you did not study. To get the contrapositive statement from the original statement is that reverse the hypothesis and conclusion by putting some negativation and reversing their order. So, sa example natin, nakita mo yung pagkapalit-palit nila. So, parang converse statement lang siya, kaso may negativation na. Kung yung inverse, negativation ng conditional, yung contrapositive is negativation ng converse. Yun lang. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy.